Hello, today I'd like to talk about interaction. Certainly, I think everyone feels like there should be more interaction in Neverending Nightmares. I would, in theory, like more interaction in Neverending Nightmares. I'm happy with what we came up with. Had we had more interaction, I certainly wouldn't complain, but, it's tough to think about how we would do sort of more interaction. Again, disempowerment is a big theme, and so, the sort of, negative remark that we're creating a walking simulator is an interesting one, because certainly I expected that. I didn't expect maybe quite as many people to feel that way, but someone asked me on the forums, like, hey, are you going to make the next one more standard, more action-based, and try to address those concerns that way? And I'm not really sure that's the best approach, because again, to me, when you introduce combat, and you introduce inventory, and you introduce puzzle solving, you're taking sort of a step away from the horror, and that's not something that I'm sure is the best decision. Maybe puzzles are the end-all, be-all solution. I don't know, but personally, I don't enjoy puzzles in horror games. I'm not ready to call it quits on creating puzzle-less horror games. But I think, the question of interactivity is an interesting one, and can we create something for the player to do other than walking that amplifies the horror and also doesn't make the player more powerful and give them all sorts of control over the situation, like ninja kicking zombies' heads off, right? That's not what we want to do. That would be the wrong decision, in my opinion. And I love ninja kicking zombies' heads off as much as the next person, but again, I don't think that's a very horrifying or very tense or very frightening experience. It's a very empowering experience. Yeah. That's sort of along the lines of what I'm thinking. The question that I'm asking myself is, what can we add for the player to do such that they feel like that they're doing something. They're not just walking and walking and walking and walking, but also keep it terrifying, keep it tense, and it's a tough problem to solve, and it's definitely something that I'm thinking about. And certainly having more interactive elements may help, and I think a good example would be a friend was like, hey, for the axe cutting the boards, you should really make it 3 button presses instead of 1 button press. And I'm like, no, whatever, it's the same. And then Thomas Grip played some of the earlier levels. Thomas Grip from Frictional, creator of Amnesia. Obviously someone very smart, knows a lot about horror games, and he's like, oh, you should really do 3 button presses. And I'm like, oh, they're probably right. And so it was a pain in the ass, and I was grumbling, and we were close to ship, but I threw it in, and definitely I think it did make a difference. I wouldn't say it's a huge game-changing difference, obviously, but the idea is that you want to create more interactivity with the player. You want the player to be doing something, to be engaged. And I don't know, this is an idea I'm just pitching, something I'm throwing out, and I'd love to get you guys' feedback. But I'm honestly thinking about QuickTime events, sort of things. And I don't mean like Shenmue, you watch a cutscene and you have to press a random button, but more like The Walking Dead, where you have to mash a button in order to avoid a situation. Now, I think game designers, or maybe it's just me, you know, often poo-poo and frown on that, like, you know, oh, you can't come up with more interesting mechanics than mashing a button. But, I mean, on the flip side, I think it actually is, can be compelling. Like, I mean, certainly in The Walking Dead, you know, when you know, zombies on top of me and I gotta mash that button, I really, you know, get into it and mash that button. And, you know, I think almost, I mean, obviously it's not like you're lifting weights or pushing a zombie off of you, but, I mean, and maybe I'm just horribly weak and all my muscles are completely atrophied, but, you know, I think mashing the buttons, you know, sort of gets the blood flowing, gets you a little excited, a little more invested. So I think that could be good. And then another thing about the sort of QuickTime event, the button mashing thing, is that it gives you an opportunity where you don't have to make your enemies one-hit kill. Because basically all the enemies in Neverending Nightmares are one-hit kill, and the reason for that is because, like, there's nothing else we could do, right? We could have them, you know, not kill you, or kill you, and obviously kill you is the best choice out of those two choices. But what if we could have them, you know, I mean, like, a lot of people said, oh, the baby should sometimes, you know, grab you out of that cabinet and do something. And my thought was, that's not fair to the player, right? If the baby can just, you know, sometimes grab you, pull you out, and crush your face, that's not fair. But that would be cool. Certainly I recognize how cool that would be. But imagine a world where, you know, the baby can sometimes pull you out, and, you know, you have to mash A to get away, to get free from the baby or something. He has you, and then, you manage to get free or something, and then, I mean, obviously, I don't know if it works best for the baby monster, but, I mean, I think that could be cool, because then you can have these situations, where, you know, the players in caught, and the enemy mechanics don't have to be as transparent, because, I mean, that's the thing, is the enemy mechanics are all trying to be very, very transparent, because we don't, you know, because they're one-hit kill. But if, you know, there, you know, mechanics where you can get caught and you have to fight the enemy off, then they don't have to be one-hit kill. And then, we can, potentially, do some more interesting things with the enemies, you know, have them sort of ambush you, maybe, and start out in the caught position, or maybe still do evade encounters. And I mean, certainly I have a lot of other ideas for interactivity, and I mean, obviously having more colored objects, more things you can do, would be great. And certainly something we'll consider for future projects, but I think, at least for the enemies, you know, and the interaction, maybe having these button mashy QuickTime events would be, helpful from a game design perspective. I don't know, what do you guys think? Do you hate QuickTime button mashing, or do you think it can be done well? Like, I mean, certainly I'm a fan of it in The Walking Dead. I mean, I wouldn't want to put a button icon on the screen. I feel like probably in the situations in which that it would happen, you know, we could hopefully make it clear, you know, put a big help message like, if you are caught, mash A, and maybe do something early on to you know, cement that mechanic. Anyway, I don't know, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.